everybody. Welcome to another episode of Age of Quarantine. My name is Chris Enriquez. You can follow me at Chris Enriquez Drums. I play in the band Spotlights at Spotlights Music, and I work at Revolver Magazine, which you can follow at Revolver Mag. This show started a couple months ago, and past episodes, most of them you can watch on YouTube, whether it's on the Revolver Magazine YouTube channel. You could watch a few of the episodes on the St. Vitus IGTV and on my personal channel on YouTube if you look up Christopher Enriquez. Tonight's a really exciting episode. I have Shawna Potter of War and Women, who's a friend of mine and a band that I've watched evolve from playing shows to small crowds to playing shows to bigger crowds at places like Bowery Ballroom, and they've really, here in New York especially, they've really stepped it up over the past few years, and their fan base has grown. And Shawna has a great relationship with St. Vitus and is featured quite often on the 2 Minutes to Late Night show. I'm just really excited to speak to her, especially at a time right now during all this social unrest, because I feel like she is one of the most important people in the underground music community and scene, with a lot of great and positive messages and things that we could learn from and be inspired from. And on top of it, she produces some amazing music, and it's really refreshing. The sound is not typical, and we're going to dive in and talk to her and ask her some questions about her life and her music and her message. So let's get her on the screen right now, and if you guys have any questions, please use the question mark box at the bottom of the screen as opposed to the comments. It's just a little easier for me to do it that way, and I'll try my best to get to them. So enough of me. Let's get to the answer. Too much coffee gets your throat all dry.
Hello.
Hey, Shawna, how are you?
Hi.
Good to
How's
see
it going?
you.
Look, I got my party lights.
Oh,
I'm
look
excited.
At that. Yeah, I like the vibe over there. I love seeing people's different situations when I get them on the screen. Some people have like, their studio or some kind of ambiance going on. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm just doing what I can to make my very small apartment look bigger.
Very cool. I'm so excited to have you on here, as I was saying, not just because we're friends and it's good to see you, but I just feel like you're one of the most, to me, I watched you evolve. I watched War and Women play shows, like I said in the intro, in Brooklyn particularly, because I feel like you have a good fan base here, playing small clubs on the floor to bigger stages, and it's been a treat to see your voice become, just become heard.
That's all really lovely to say.
Yeah.
And frankly, we owe that to just people bothering to show up or take us on tour. Like I'm kind of always been trying to do the same thing. Try to always fucking bring it, but it takes people standing there watching.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so amazing to me that it's 2 full lengths, if I'm not mistaken, that you've released. And in those 2 full lengths of time span, I feel like you've really gone far, at least from where I can look at it. This is one of those times when I think telling your life story is okay. So if that's okay with you, we're going to just kind of dive in and go from your past to it'll be like a public therapy session.
Let's do it. I obviously don't have very much human contact these days, so let's dive in.
Awesome. Well, are you located in DC or Maryland? Because it's
Baltimore.
So close. You're in Baltimore, okay.
Yeah, Baltimore's really close to DC, but we're definitely fucking Baltimore.
Right. I guess everybody that I know out there is like kind of on the border, so I didn't want to get it wrong. But obviously, it's a crazy time for many reasons. Let's start with the current time for a second. First of all, how have you been managing to get through the pandemic and all that?
I think like everyone, just doing my best. Personally, I spent the first month or 2 just worried about where's my next paycheck going to come from, right? So a tour got canceled about a week before. We were supposed to go on tour with Bad Religion. It got canceled. God. yeah, I got canceled like a week before, which better than on the first day, you know. But that was kind of a blow, like, okay, now what do we do? I had a closet full of merch that I invested money in and had to try to sell that. Then when I felt like, okay, I paid off that expense, now what? Okay, now let's research grants. Now let's research unemployment. Like
Right.
finding a job is a job. So that's what I did. And then I had about a week where I was like, okay, I can like sleep in and I can like do nothing and I can start drinking early and I can actually acknowledge the fact that like it's a fucking pandemic and maybe some days I cry and maybe some days I don't, you know? And then I started then this opportunity actually fell in my lap to apply for a grant from Maryland State to provide free trainings to bars and venues that serve alcohol and sexual
Oh,
assault prevention work.
wow.
So now I have a job through Maryland State for the next few months where I can virtually train to
The,
staff,
the
managers,
staff.
bartenders, whoever, yeah, and how to recognize and prevent sexual assault.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
is that how does it work exactly where you know, do the venues, do you reach out to the venues or does the organization reach out and ask if they're interested, or is it like well, I guess I'm almost thinking about it. It would be great if it was a requirement. So I guess it's not a requirement.
Right.
Maybe one
It's
day.
not a requirement. You know, it certainly, no one has to do it, which is too bad. But I'm used to emailing people and being like, no, 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 you should do this. It's free. It's free. Just do
Right,
it.
right.
So that's the good thing. But it's my job as part of the grant to reach out and find places all over the state. And so basically, if anyone is watching now in Maryland or knows someone in Maryland working in nightlife, have them reach out to me.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love hearing
Yeah.
about things that could
Cheers.
potentially. Oh, cheers, cheers.
Oh, you got
I love
something?
hearing
Oh,
about.
okay.
No, no, let me hear it. We got cheers.
Okay, cool.
Cheers, cheers. I love hearing about things that that can maybe widespread, and that's what you do. You know, with your music and with the things you have to say, and I guess you also get to do it for a living in your day job, which is fantastic. Um, Let me ask you something. When I tour and go on the road, it's so strange to me when I go through DC because of the proximity. I'm like, I just get so freaked out. I'm like, wow, there's like weird shit going on right there. And I'm talking about the White House, obviously.
Right, right.
What is,
What are
how
they
does that?
planning next?
Yeah, it's weird. It's so crazy. Like, you know, obviously, you know, anybody watching hopefully is aware. And if you're not, you know, Shawna, you were very outspoken about social politics and social unrest, and with your lyrics and with the interviews you do. How does that affect your perception, being close in proximity, and you know, maybe elaborate a little bit on what the climate is like out there at protests or when you just go outside?
You know, that's funny. I don't actually think about how close we are to DC. I think it's like a mental health thing, because if maybe I thought about it for too long, it would just really break me down. So I'm kind of blocked that out, just how close we are to this dude that's in charge. But you know, one thing I love about Baltimore is that Baltimore doesn't fuck around, and we are not a welcoming place for Trump. And so I love that he's not always trying to like. If we were receptive to him, he'd probably be here all the time because it's so close. You wouldn't have to travel, really. But no, Baltimore's not into it, which I love. I think, like, I personally have not felt safe enough with the COVID to participate in any protests, which I think some people can definitely identify with that. It's a really tough feeling because I am someone who's organized protests. You know, I've been in the streets, and so it's hard to not feel that connection to my city during this time. But I've been, you know, an activist long enough to know that you can't help anyone if you're unsafe or unwell, and that's just where I'm at. I just don't feel comfortable. So I've been trying to think of other things I can do, right? Because
Hmm.
the thing is, no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. And so every time I'm stuck with, well, what can I do? I just kind of make a list or something and try to figure out how can I be of help right now? Mm-hmm. And so what I did this past month is I offered free like white ally chats to people.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, just like if there's just some other white person that wants to like shoot the shit a little bit, like if they want to work out an issue, if they have a question, you know, I certainly don't claim to be an expert. I do teach safer spaces in general, bystander intervention, stuff like that. But anti-racism work is certainly its own specialty. And I haven't facilitated that kind of education, but I have been a student of it. You know, I've taken courses, I've gone to workshops, I've read books, you know, like it's, as a white person, it's my duty to be an eternal student. So, you know, it's just it served this last month as an opportunity to just, you know, hopefully work some shit out or say the dumb thing in front of another white person with no judgment. Cause like, I understand, like sometimes we have to put our foot in our mouth and say the thing out loud and be like, yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah, no, of course.
And like to get to the other side. So that's what I was able to do. And unfortunately, because I got this grant, I don't have time to do that anymore, but I was doing it like for free. And if you've ever wondered, like, you know, there's that thing where people of color are just fucking exhausted teaching people about racism, right? Like it's a real thing. Yeah. And I did like, a handful of chats one day and I was like, oh man, I'm exhausted. This is so hard. So it's real. That exhaustion is real.
It is. I've, you know, I don't want to, I want to focus more on you, but I'll say real quick on my, I can relate to you because I was a germaphobe before this happened. So I have a hard time.
Yeah, not helpful.
You know, I don't like touching stuff and I don't feel safe being around groups of people right now. You know what I'm saying? But I have used my social platforms to share some of my own experiences because I have a lot of experiences being on the receiving end of police brutality. I've been arrested for racial profiling because they got the wrong Asian guy, so they arrested me instead. That happened to me. Then when I was locked behind bars, people definitely did it. You know. But one thing I will say, and because I think it's really cool that you're doing that about, you know, I've really avoided talking too much on my political beliefs on the St. Vitus channel because it's not mine.
Well, that's why you can bring me in and I can.
Yeah. But,
I'll turn everyone off. Don't worry.
There's one thing about, I would say, white people kind of overstepping boundaries when it comes to this stuff, which is I have had some white people lecture me on how I could do more, and I'm a person of color that has been arrested because of my. That's something that I don't know if people talk about, but I actually have had 2 or 3 incidents where I was like kind of lectured about not doing enough and not doing certain things by people that have not experienced it. I'm like, I love it. I love what you're doing, but you're definitely talking to the wrong person right now.
It's like I've been dealing with it. I need a break.
Yeah, exactly.
It's constant in my feed. I need to check out. That's totally valid.
Yeah,
that's totally valid.
It's anyway. I'm so glad to hear what you're doing and what you just said, which is great. And I hope more people take your classes and that it really spreads more PMA.
Yeah, perfect.
When did you? So before War and Women, where were you originally from?
I was born in Houston, Texas, y'all. Okay. Yeah, I grew up in Texas. I moved around a lot. My mom was a bit of a free spirit, so we moved around a lot. And I went to high school in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's where I had my first real band and started touring and playing shows and got an indie record deal that fell through and, you know, did all that kind of stuff.
When did you realize that music in general, even before your first band, which I want to talk about in a little bit, when did you realize that music was, you know, something that meant something to you beyond background noise, where you were like, you know, some people, it doesn't catch on, but at what point were you like, oh, this is something I like? You know, what was that experience?
I actually don't think I have a memory of that because from the beginning, MTV was on in the background while I was growing up. And I have early memories of like dancing to whatever pop song was on TV. And like I went to a kid's birthday party. I mean, I was like this tall. I went to a kid's birthday party and like there was a dance contest to like Michael Jackson's Thriller, and I won the dance contest. So I got the record on vinyl, you know, as a prize, and I was like, yes. So I don't even know that it's a conscious memory, because I've felt connected to music my entire life. Right. I mean, there certainly was a turning point where it stopped being like about dancing and singing and performing. And then like I saw someone with a guitar and I was like, wait a second, I like that. What about rock and roll? You know, it certainly took a lot to convince me that I wasn't going to just do like Madonna.
Of course.
Or, you know, like think about it. Like I'm dancing in my living room to Madonna, Prince, George Michael, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, like the greats, right? Like what an era to enjoy pop music. I feel very lucky. But then one day I was like, wait, I want a headbang. This is cool.
Right. Yeah, we were lucky. I think we're, you know, I assume we grew up around the same time, because when you turned on TV at that time, you had heavy metal videos, pop music, all really very diverse, actually. When you think of one thing that was certainly diverse in those days, I think, and I'm talking about the 80s and 90s, was what we got to watch on MTV, for sure.
Yes, I absolutely discovered bands because the video just came on and I would not have found them otherwise. Like one of my favorite all-time artists is Helium, Mary Timony and Helium, which I discovered because of Beavis and Butthead. They played her videos and made fun of her, and I was like, wait, this is fucking cool.
That's so funny.
And I'm not going to turn on the radio today. It's all bullshit, you know, like you're not going to find it in the same way.
Right. I've been talking to a couple artists on the show and in general about who got their break, obviously a little older than us, but some bands who got their break because of Beavis and Butthead, which is cool. There's a cool, there's some Beavis and Butthead against racism thing going on.
Oh, I saw that.
You see that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like a town, and it's in the Beavis and Butthead like logo font kind of thing. And that town's music scene is talking about being anti-racist, which I think is great.
I got to read this comment really quick because it's funny about us, because we talked about, you know, the generation we came from. This person, 5'9" wave.
It's like Soundwave.
Oh, Soundwave. Thank you. You're better than me. I don't know what's going on here. My goodness, y'all don't look that old. Thank you very much. I've been very self-conscious about that because I'm turning 30 this year.
Oh, no. Well, I'm not quite there yet, but I am in my late 30s. And I think that, you know, being a woman, especially, it's actually really important for me to be really open about my age and say, like, no, this is what it looks like, and that's fine. Like, I'm 38. I'm 38. Like, in no way is it rude to ask me. I will happily tell anyone, because I'm fucking doing cool shit. And so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, it's funny to mention. We're basically the same age. I'm 39, but I feel the same way, you know, because you know, especially in music too, you know, they make it seem like it's a young person's game to make it or whatever. And it's like, yo, I think both of us can relate to this. It's like, I'm actually doing way cooler shit now than when I was 25. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Now, when you came to you talked about singing and dancing, who were like the catalysts to like your vocalists or lyricists that were before punk rock and before all that, like that made you kind of find your voice? Talk about how you found your voice a little bit.
You know, that's kind of interesting because I actually think that I really enjoyed singing along to like good pop music. And I would almost not try to sound exactly like Janet Jackson, but I would sing her song like her, because that's how it goes. And it was kind of only through discovering, you know, punk rock and Riot Girl and indie rock and whatever, you know, kind of realizing, oh, everyone's doing something different, and maybe I need to find my thing. Maybe that's okay. Maybe I don't need to do an impression of someone else. And now this is me really young, obviously, because I started playing and touring in bands when I was 14 years old. But it was definitely like a conscious decision I had to make, like, okay, well, what do I sound like? And that, you know, I had to get help with that. Bandmates had to help with that. Like, it had to be drawn out of me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you bring up punk rock, that's actually my next question. Let me start with the underground music and aggressive music. When and how did you discover that? And what were I like to talk about venues because St. Vitus is a venue, but like, what were your St. Vituses and
Oh,
who were the
man.
artists? You know?
Okay, so I lived in Nashville in the mid to late 90s. And so I went to Lucy's Record Shop, which was a historic small venue in Nashville where like all the punk bands would come play. It changed names while I lived there to like it became IndieNet, which everyone was like, why? But I remember seeing Anti-Flag there
Oh,
in
wow.
like 97, 98. And it's a tiny room and it sounded terrible and the stage was small, you know, like all the classic shit, of course. But like, that's just where you went every Friday and Saturday night. And my mom knew I liked music and played guitar and wanted to be in a band. And so she was cool with me going and socializing there and discovering new music, right? But I remember having a conversation with Anti-Flag's drummer, Pat Thedick, about being a woman playing music. And he was so encouraging, you know, telling me to stick with it and keep going and like really solid male ally shit.
Yeah.
And this is back then, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a lot of reasons why that band has a very special place in my heart. And I am, you know, so grateful that I can call them friends now. You know, we've toured together and I've told Pat that story and he's like, that sounds right. I would say that, you know.
It's so fitting to who your band is and what you do. That Anti-Flag was your kind of intro.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. They were definitely one of the first bands I was listening to, and I was like, oh, they're saying "fuck police." Oh my God, can you say that? You know,
right.
It was so challenging. And like them and Bikini Kill, I was like, these people are just saying the thing.
Right.
Is that allowed? You know, and I certainly, it's not like I've always been in a band like War on Women. I've played a lot of different music. I like a lot of different stuff. But when we started this band, we knew, like, we were like, okay, we're just going to say the thing. That's what we're going to do. It's not going to be a lyrical metaphor or whatever. Hopefully we straddle a nice line, but yeah, you got to say the thing.
Well, no, absolutely. And that's the greatest thing about punk rock music, right? Because it's about that. That's what it is. It's like, it's about having a voice. I wanted to also mention that War on Women has elements of metal and hardcore and other styles. So, you know, George from St. Vitus mentioned in the comments, what is the name of the band that you do with Jordan from
Oh, well, we do a Van Halen cover band called Panamama.
Panamama, that's right. So, and I noticed that, you know, you're doing all these covers and you do it really well. What were some of your favorites, like in the metal world, or you know what I mean? Am I right in saying that like there's some metal influence?
Oh, there definitely is. I think that there is as much metal influence in this band because I don't play guitar in this band.
Okay.
I'm not fast enough.
Right.
Like I can write some cool stuff, you know, but I have never been that fast. I've never been that virtuosic. So I think I was kind of late to the metal game. I think that, and that was partly because it seemed like a boys' club and there were no girls allowed.
Yeah.
You know, growing up, which just a heads up, that absolutely does prevent people from discovering cool music if they feel unwelcome. You know, I had plenty of other music to choose from, so I was not going to force my way into a room. You know, I was like, whatever, fuck you, I'll do what I want. So I would say, like, obviously, of course, eventually you come around to being like, oh shit, Metallica, yeah, duh.
Right.
But I think my first, you know, for like my next milestone after like fucking Bikini Kill and stuff like that was The Refused. you
Oh,
know, and
fuck
so
yeah,
like,
fuck yeah.
so that's like a perfect, like, okay, we're getting heavier, we're getting heavier, we're getting more intense, we're getting, you know, perfect stepping stone. And so that's the next record that I was obsessed with.
I mean, it's
Just
ridiculous. Yeah.
totally, it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
It
It's
is.
insane. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say Refused, and then like obviously, like I mean I really like I like Baroness, who we got to go on tour with. I like
Yeah.
some Lamb of God stuff. I like some Botch. I like, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not good at like memorizing everything that I like. It always seems like a quiz when
No,
people
no,
are
no.
like,
Of course,
name a
of course.
band, my mind goes blank. But
Well,
like,
it's one of
yeah.
the compelling things. Somebody just mentioned in the comments, L to the Row, the first Warren Women album has some sick thrash riffs, which I when I saw you guys, when I saw, sorry, I should rephrase that, but when I saw Warren Women play and I heard the music for the first time, I was like, you know, it's interesting because there's a lot of diverse stuff going on in there. And with the Riot Girl movement, you know, with Bikini Kill and all, it was mostly punk rock. So it was cool to hear that kind of shift in sound a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all in there. That's the beautiful thing about being in a band, and everyone bringing their shit to it, you know?
Yeah,
Making
yeah.
something new out of rock and roll, which is the same shit over and over again. You know, it's all still rock and roll, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to mention too, before I get too far off topic here from the Riot Girls scene. I actually played in this all-girl band in high school called. We had the best name for a Riot Girl band, and it's too bad that we broke up. But I'm so proud of it. I wanted to tell you what it was. We called ourselves Horticulture, but with the WH. It was great.
That's what's up.
We did a lot of Bikini Kill songs. I love that name. I'm like, man, I wish we started now, you know, but it was like way back in the day. So how did your relationship with 2 Minutes to Late Night start? And then also, what are your favorite covers that you did with Jordan?
Oh man, well with Jordan, I mean we've mostly just done like Van Halen stuff, but just like one day on Facebook, this guy Jordan reached out to War on Women and was like, "Hey, we do a talk show in New York. Do you want to come? And actually, do you want to be the house band that night? And actually, do you want to do a cover song?" And I was like, "Who the fuck is this? What is this?" I had no idea. So we started researching, and we were like, "Oh, this is actually really funny. Like these people definitely know music, and it is funny. They seem like not weird. You know, you never want to like totally step into a lion's den without knowing that you are." They were cool, obviously. Like, yeah, it's totally cool. But and then we had a great time, and it was super fun. And we covered Katy Perry's "Dark Horse," which I think. I mean, I kind of want to do that again live. Like our sets are always like 30 minutes long. And so there's no time for like fucking around like that. But I really, really loved doing that song. But yeah, after that, we just kind of kept in touch and did a thing at Fest. And then we'd perform there and we'd do a Danzig song with them, you know, and then we were joking around about cover bands and like the all-female versions of cover bands and
like Led Zeppelin,
yeah, like just talking about the names and like how cool it is, and then we were like, is there even a good one for Van Halen? No. And then he just said Panamama, and I was like, oh fuck, now we gotta do it.
That's fantastic. Love it.
Yeah, and I left town. I left Fest thinking, oh, that's a funny idea, and then he was like, no, we're doing this. Okay, see you soon. We're gonna do this live. So I get to be David Lee Roth in all his problematic glory.
And anybody watching, if you haven't seen that, you could go on YouTube and look up 2 Minutes to Late Night, Panamama, and they had a couple songs on the Slay at Home Festival, Metal Injection. You can look that up there if you haven't seen that. Let's shift gears for a second back to activism. In terms of activism, was activism a prominent part of your life prior to punk rock, or was punk rock the sort of catalyst to kind of bring that into your life a little more?
No, even listening to early Anti-Flag, I still was very apolitical, kind of in a apathetic way. I can't even, I'm not even old enough to vote yet, so why should I care? They don't care about me, I don't care about them, you know? And eventually you realize they're going to make decisions about you, for you, like it or not. You might as well have some input on it, right? And so
Right.
it was actually the George W. Presidency where I started to realize like just how much they're chipping away at women's rights, and how no one in the room had a fucking uterus, and yet they're making decisions for people with uteruses, and I was like, this is outrageous. How do they not see how ridiculous this is?
Right.
And that's what got me pissed. Like that's what started making me think like, maybe there's some stuff out there I should read, or some movies I should watch. I should know more about this, and get more involved. And that's kind of what it took. That and my disdain for street harassment.
Right. And then so you eventually, like you said, you were in a band before War on Women. We should talk about that a little bit, and then get
if
into
you
War
want.
on Women. It was called, how do you pronounce it? Avec?
Avec. You're
okay,
like the only person that's ever said it right. I just want you to know that. That's perfect.
I kind of knew of the band when it was around, kind of.
Oh, cool.
I think we were playing in similar circuits.
I mean, we got around, so like we would have seen each other on posters for sure.
Exactly, yeah. And then De La Hoya and all that. Not to tell me.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about that band, and then let's transition to when and how War on Women started.
Well, I moved to Baltimore to join that band. They were a three-piece, and they came through Nashville. At the time, my old band had broken up. I was playing solo, acoustic, and I opened the show, and this three-piece was playing, and they were so weird and like angular and mathy, but I just kept hearing guitar parts that weren't there. And I was like, I guess that means I should be in this band, because I know the part you're missing. Like, let me play this for you.
Yeah.
And they said, well, actually, we've been thinking about adding another guitar player. Do you want to move to Baltimore? And I was like, sure, the scene is dead. Let's get out of here. So I just moved to the East Coast for the first time, even though I moved around a lot growing up. It was my first time on the East Coast. And I mean, we had a show booked like a week after I got into town. We just started going for it. And yes, it's avec, the French word for with. We just saw it on a poster and thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
And that band, we did everything that you're supposed to do, but that's obviously like the early 2000s was a really weird time for like indie record labels going bust, major labels like not investing in smaller acts. Things were just changing. Things were really tumultuous. And so touring around the country was not enough, So we did the damn thing for years, and it just never went anywhere. And like our biggest fans were always other people in bands, which is awesome, but you need someone in the audience, you need someone to buy the record to pay for gas. So we just kind of fizzled out. The other two dudes just kind of wanted to try something else in their life, which makes sense. But Brooks and I, we were not done. We were not done playing. We still felt like we had this thing in us that we had to give it a shot. And I was getting super pissed about the erosion of reproductive rights. And so we were like, well, let's do a band that like sounds as pissed as we are. Yeah. And that's War on Women.
And War on Women, it's a good tie-in here, because you were talking about George W. Bush earlier and how it's like the White House is a bunch of predominantly white men making decisions for women, basically. Let's talk a little bit about the origin of the name War on Women for anyone that may not know, where it came from.
Well, they should just know that it's real. It's a thing, and it's real, and it's insidious. I've only had 3 sips of wine. I still can't pronounce anything. But it's structural, it's institutional. There are people at the top trying to maintain power. Does this sound familiar? And they do it by appealing to the religious right. They do it by subjugating women in so many different ways. And there's just so many ways to keep women down in this country. And heaven forbid, you're like, you have any other identity, shit is hard. shit
Yeah.
is hard. So, yeah, it's just acknowledging the fact that there is one, and that if this is a war, like, you got to choose a side. It's
Yes,
us
I
or them.
agree. Yeah. And so when we started War on Women, you know, you and Brooks have been a unit as a musical pair since Avec. Are the two of you kind of handling the creative process, or is it a collective effort with the rest of the band?
I mean, when you're in a band, you can't help but it be collective, really. It's funny, all I'm really thinking about is like this self-isolation and quarantine, where I'm like, remember when we could be in the same room together and write a song? I don't
Oh
remember
yeah,
that.
yeah.
No, like, I mean, one thing about Brooks is that he's incredibly prolific when it comes to writing riffs. And so, like, you can't stop the guy. It's just a collection of like demos. And so by the time it's time to, you know, write a new record, record a new record, it's like, it's all there basically. And so it takes all of us kind of editing, chopping it up, or I'll, you know, every now and again, I write a riff that kind of makes it in, that he can play faster than me, you know, or I'll have an idea, like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to sing this and you go, blah, 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 you know, can you do that? And he has to like figure out my nonsense words because I didn't go to school for music. So we definitely make a good team.
Yeah, I love that. And then let's talk about Brooks for a second. We were interviewing Jay Robbins, of course, from
Oh,
Jawbox
yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, from Magpie, where you recorded. You know, everyone watching, Jay Robbins was in Government Issue and Jawbox and Burning Island's a fantastic musician. And he played at St. Vitus recently, and I believe Brooks is playing with him in his solo band.
Brooks has played in a couple of bands with Jay now, which is amazing. Very cool.
Yes. Yeah, he's incredibly talented. I've really come to know that about him from seeing what he's doing with Jay outside of War on Women. Will you tell us a little bit about, he works in the guitar or music instrument industry, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a sound engineer at a club and also on tour. He owns and runs an amp repair shop called Big Crunch, which specializes in tube amps. He is an engineer in the studio. He is always, you know, he records half or more of our records so that it saves us money, you know, like it's kind of a team effort, like pass the baton between him and Jay. And yeah, he's a multi-instrumentalist. He's just so talented. And, you know, I think it's something interesting about, you know, when you want to be in a band and you want to try to make a living, I don't know, playing music. Right. When you want to play music, you kind of find these jobs that can help propel your ability to leave and go on tour, you know? And so, like, yes, everyone in the band could go work at a bank if we really needed to, probably. I might have to like fix my hair color or something, but it's like you know, you figure out a way to make your life work if it's worth it to you to do. And so I think people often get jobs related to music so that they have opportunities to come. I don't know. So it's cool. No. It's cool that we can leave town and then come back, and that he's got amps to fix in the shop. Yeah. And can work on records. Yeah.
I agree with you. That's actually a great piece of advice, I think. Not that I was even trying to go there, but for like a spot, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, do you have any advice for aspiring musicians? And if you could get a job that's somehow related to music, it actually can kind of filter in a little bit to making it possible to do what you do. You know what I mean? Which is cool.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah. I'm in a band with a married couple. So my bass player Sarah is a merch person for bands and goes on tour, and then her husband, he's a sound engineer like Brooks, and he records bands and does sound. So it's a great way to kind of do it. And then this is not a shameless plug, but you know, at Revolver where I work, we have done a lot of coverage on War on Women. Obviously.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's cool to be able to have that in your arsenal, you know.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the records. We have 20 minutes left, and I want to talk about the records. So I felt like the first LP that you put out got some really good headway, and I watched you go from playing Tommy's Tavern on the floor to eventually I saw you. I can't remember who you were opening up for, but I saw you open. We've talked about this. I saw you open up for someone at Bowery Ballroom, and it was sold out, I think. I just don't remember who it was.
Maybe Flag?
No,
think?
it wasn't Flag.
Oh.
But
Was it
anyway,
Refused?
No, it wasn't Refused.
I'm just going to start making bands up. Was it Rolling Stones? Was it the Rolling Stones?
I feel like Jonah from One Line Drawing came out and sang with you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, maybe Propagandhi. Thank you for the comment. Maybe it's Propagandhi.
Maybe. But anyway, I mean, my whole point was that I watched you go from playing on the floor to a bigger stage. How did you feel the first LP was received? You know, let's talk about the first record cycle.
You mean the Baby Factory one or the EP?
The first LP.
The first LP,
self-titled.
So that's the first full length, and it came out on Bridge 9 Records. Mm-hmm. I think for a band no one had heard of, it was great. You know, I mean, fuck, it got us on tour, like people are saying, with Propagandhi. Like, what more could you ask for? It was something it gave us an opportunity to just get out there and start playing, which is, you know, what we wanted to do the whole time anyway. Yeah.
And how did Bridge 9 come into the picture?
Well, we sent some demos to like every label that we thought would make sense, you know, of a certain level that maybe either already had women in bands or needed more women in bands. and we got a lot of no's, and we got a lot of no response. And at some point we were like, well, it's been months. I guess we got to just put this on Bandcamp or something. I guess we're a local band. That's fine.
Right,
you know,
right.
I've been in a local band literally my entire life. So, okay, that's fine. Let's just get this out there. But then around that time, Chris from Bridge 9 emailed me and was like, hey, I have a record here. This is cool. You free for a phone call today?
Right. Very
I was
casual,
like, yep.
organic.
Yeah, super casual. And he basically said he finally got around to listening to the record, which I'm sure every label gets a ton of mail. Like, I get it. It takes a long time. He liked it a lot. He went ahead and called up his sister and said, hey, I just listened to this record, this band called Worn Women. Like, have you ever heard of them? And she was like, yeah, check the text thread from a few months ago, dude.
Wow.
She had already told him about us, and he just kind of lost it.
Did they run the label together?
No, I think he was just like checking in with his sister, to be like, have you heard this band? Because she goes to shows, whatever. But she was like, yeah, dude, they're cool. And he was like, okay, well, that's all I need to know. Like, I like it, you like it, let's sign them up. So
that's a good match, because I feel like they became they've really kind of become that label for like, you know, if you want to get into like new punk and hardcore bands, they're kind of at the forefront, where maybe if you can kind of, it's like a stamp of approval almost, in a way, that if it's on Bridge 9, you know, might be something.
They've got quite a legacy, and they've put out some really cool stuff recently. And I mean, honestly, just to have a label that is like that supportive of us and our message, and like they feel that we're important and they're behind us all the way, like it's really great. And honestly, we just finished up a new record that we have to figure out what we're going to do with that. But you know, not once in recording process was Chris like, what are you doing? Let me listen to this shit. Like we literally
punk rock and
we hand him a final version, and he's like, yep, great, okay, let's do it. Like, there's no interference, it's complete creative control, and it's awesome. So they really support us, and they have our back, and that, you know, you can't ask for much more than that.
It's a great thing when you're on a label. It's almost like, if it's not broken, why, you know, don't you know what I'm saying? Because like some bands, I guess, like they get like offers in other places, and it's like, well, I mean, that's cool, but like it's working out, so whatever, you know. I you know, what you just mentioned is something I want to get to, which is that you're working on new material. But let's talk about Capture the Flag.
Okay.
Particularly, well, okay, let's start here. How do you approach a next record when you go, okay, that first one's over, and what do I want to accomplish musically or in terms of a message as I now move on to my next one? You know, how do you kind of, I mean, maybe it's current events. I don't know. I just kind of wondering for you.
Yeah, you know, that Capture the Flag was a bit of a difficult record for me. I feel like the self-titled, we just had more time. It's that thing where like you're not a band, you're not signed, you know, like you're just starting. You have all the time in the world to make your first real record, and then it's time to make the second one, right? And so we did feel that urgency a little bit, where I just felt like there's just less time. It was also right after, it was time to start writing and recording after the 2016 election.
Oh,
And
yeah.
for, I think, a lot of activists that have been pushing for social justice and organizing and, you know, caring, right? Like spending your all day, every day caring about shit. I just felt really defeated and depressed. And I didn't want to write. I just didn't have it in me to get it out there. And I think I've been doing this long enough that I was already okay with the idea of like going with the flow. Like if I wasn't feeling it, I wasn't feeling it, and I wasn't going to force it. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. So I didn't force it, and you know, little things would come out here and there. And we also did Warp Tour right before I went in to do vocals for Capture the Flag. We were done with Warp Tour, and then we recorded everything else, then did Warp Tour, then it was time to do vocals.
Oh man.
And I was like, oh man, Warp Tour, I got 2 months to write lyrics to all this stuff. No problem.
Right.
No, there was no time. At the end of every day, I was exhausted. I was not feeling creative.
Oh my God, of course. Especially Warp Tour, right? Yeah.
Yes. And so, of course, I had these ideas. Oh, I'm going to get so much done. I got nothing done. And so then it's time to get in the studio, and like, yeah, some stuff's ready, but some stuff was not. And I was finishing a lot of things the night before. And
wow.
And I think and all of our, like for everyone in the band, we all have our own version of that with that record, Capture the Flag. But I think I can speak for everyone when I say like it's a really cool social experiment. Like we're really proud that we were able to do it, and we're proud of what we were able to accomplish, but I never want to do it again.
Right. I mean, that's it. That's intense. You brought up a really good point. I didn't even think about the timing of current events of that time, and when you were making it. That's like a very crazy time.
Because I was thinking like, I don't want to write a song about this asshole. He doesn't deserve that from me. And I was also like, all these white dudes in punk bands are the ones that should be condemning this guy. Mm-hmm. You know, like you guys should tell your dudes, like fuck this guy, and call in your dudes, your audience. And I just felt I didn't want to have anything to do with it. And so it was hard. Eventually a song came out of it called Predator in Chief. But I'll tell you, that song is not specifically about Trump. It's not only about him. You know, it's about all men in power that abuse it and take advantage of people. So, yeah, it was a tough one to get through, but I really feel like we came up with some very cool shit that I'm really proud of. So that's cool.
You absolutely did. And man, I hate knowing that we're at the home stretch because I have so many more questions. So I might have to kind of breeze through a few things. The Instagram kicks you off when you hit the 1 hour mark.
That's true. All right, here we go.
You've been asked this a lot, but speaking of songs and record, we have to talk about Kathleen Hanna, obviously. She's a legend. She is a reason why the Riot Grrrl movement exists, and in punk rock particularly. How did you link up with her? I know you've answered this question a million times probably, but how did you link up with her, and what was it like working with her?
We met at the 2016 Riot Fest. We played the same time, not the same stage, but I met her backstage, which was really cool. I can't remember why or how, but somehow I got her email address. And so I just kind of sent a really cool to meet you. Here's my music later, you know. And then a year later, kind of, it was like, hey, so we're doing this thing. Do you want to record vocals? And thank God she said yes.
Did she know? Did she know who you were when you wrote her?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, yes, she remembered that we met. She knew we played. I'm sure she listened to our stuff and made sure that we were like intersectional and cool, you know.
On brand.
Yeah, like so she was definitely like aware of us for sure at that point. Like I still would not say that like we're friends. I can't just like text her any old time. But it's an honor that she's on that record, and it's perfect. Like what she did was perfect for the song.
Yeah, it really was.
You Didn't Tell Me How to Live. So yeah, we're very grateful to her and everyone else that did guest vocals on that last record.
If anybody, I mean, I'm assuming most people watching are aware of that song, but check it out. You Don't Tell Me How to Live. It's probably definitely the most aggressive song I think that Kathleen Hanna has ever sang on. I mean, Bikini Kill was a punk rock band, but that's a heavy song for her to be on. I mean, she had gone on to La Tigre and more dancey stuff, so it was cool to hear her on a track like that. Let's ask you this: you as the band gained momentum, I'm sure you had some serious like holy shit moments. Besides that, what are some of your, you know, let's say like maybe some of your top three? Let's stick it to three, like holy shit moments. Whether it was like a band you toured with, a band you played with, or someone you got to meet.
I got two at least. So yeah, Kathleen Hanna, let's call that number one. Because 14-year-old me was like freaking out inside when that was going on. Two would be being able to go to Australia and play at a festival, a giant festival in front of like thousands of people. That was my first time in Australia. Maybe it's my last, you know, I don't know.
Right.
But it's so cool as a band, you know, there's these huge milestones of like the first time you go to Europe, first time you go to Australia, like, and so I still have Mexico and Japan are like my next big ones that I want to go to. So Mitch, Aussies in the house. Yeah, but Australia, it was lovely, fantastic espresso drinks, lovely people, you know, like just cool shit, like beautiful, cool shit. And then another holy shit moment, I think, is like the third or fourth time we played Fest, the club we played, it sold out. It was at capacity. And it was like this super fun, amazing thing. And we were like, that's amazing. That'll never happen again.
Right.
And then we did it again the next year.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no one's going to show up. We were just here last year. And they still did. And they showed up and it was at capacity. And well, it's like Fest. So it's like,
right. Sorry.
No one headlines, really. Yeah. Actually, if you play last, it might suck for you. It's very late. And then, you know, we took a year off and we do an album or we do this other thing or whatever. And then it's time to come back to Fest. And they're like, okay, play this big venue again. And I'm like, no one's coming. They just saw us. They don't care. Like, we're not going to do it again. And it got filled to capacity again. And it's just such a lovely, lovely feeling that so many people can find us at Fest, or things like that. And like, you know, find their people and that there are people and we're singing for you and with you on these social justice issues, and everyone deserves a place in punk rock, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want a place and you like aggressive music, it's the best thing we could all ask for. I mean, I was a victim of bullying and all sorts of stuff. It was racial. It was you know, using the F word every day. So that's why I ended up in punk rock, because I wasn't accepted in my community. And so it was just like, and that's kind of like going back to what you were saying earlier, like just rebellious music, street music. I mean, punk rock is street music. So it's like, it's a great welcoming place. Hopefully most environments in punk rock are like that. I mean, we still have a long way to go, and you're doing something very great by speaking out.
Yeah, look, no place is perfect, and it's not just punk that has a problem, right? And so I'll just do this. I have a book available called Making Spaces Safer that I wrote that is a guidebook to tell every single person in any scene what they can do to stop harassment and how to help people that are harassed, whether you're on stage, behind the bar, in the audience, it doesn't matter. You have a role to play, because harassment or any kind of ism is not okay. And we can shut that shit down. And so please, please, please grab this book, Making Spaces Safer, especially right now. If you feel like you want to help people of color, or you want to help women or LGBTQ folks, and you just don't know how, this book, it will tell you.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. I'm so glad. Where can they order it and how?
Yeah, akpress.org. That's my publisher, akpress.org, or your local bookstore, curbside service.
Okay.
Or the evil site that shall not be named.
Okay. So. Yes. Yes. Well, that's good. That's a lot of places, and the good thing it has. Really, that's fantastic. We need more of that out there in the music community. And if you're watching and you follow St. Vitus, you need to. It's an important thing to make sure that we're welcoming people, because it's just that's what we're supposed to be doing for underground music and culture. We're supposed to be a place for people to go to.
Yeah, let's show them how it's done. Like, because we don't need cops. We don't need a system to tell us how to take care of our community.
Yeah.
So this book is all about doing DIY for real, without the state, without cops' help, because we don't need it.
That's right. I couldn't agree with you more. We got 4 minutes, and I got lucky because my grocery didn't show up and interrupt. We talked about this earlier. Watch, it's going to happen now. But,
yeah. Well, I want to thank everyone for all the nice comments and all the nice things you're saying about our records. Like, that's really cool. I'm seeing it all go by. So just thank you, everyone, for saying nice things. And yeah, we finished a new record that's going to come out on Bridge 9.
Yes.
And I have no release date. I have no other information. But, oh boy, does it sound fucking good. I'm so excited about it, Chris. I'm so excited.
We need a War on Women record right now.
I know.
Yeah.
I need it too.
That's why I was so happy when Run the Jewels put out a record, because it speaks volumes to what is happening right now. Yeah. And the timing we needed that record. So a War on Women record right now would be fantastic.
So tell them to take us on tour when it's safe to do so, okay?
Oh my God, how cool would that be, huh?
How cool would that be?
That would be rad. That would be rad. We have, we should mention that too, just a shameless plug, but we got Run the Jewels on the front cover of our next issue, and we're just talking about how cool it is to have a white man and a black man, on a cover together, and each of them have their own cover, and it's just a good statement and what they have to say. So I would love a Run the Jewels tour with War on Women. That would be perfect. So,
dude, we got to work together.
Somebody make it happen. Somebody make it happen.
Yes.
I like to ask everybody the same question at the end, and we'll do a quick final shout out before we get kicked off. But we had 2 minutes on the clock. If you had 5 albums that you were stuck with during the quarantine this whole time, what would they? Oh shit! I got the timer. 1 minute and 57 seconds. What would they be and why?
Fuck. It would probably, there'd be a Beyonce record for sure. I've been around the house. I've been singing a lot of Dionne Warwick. Actually, the Valley of the Dolls soundtrack is just like stuck in my head for some reason.
Yeah, too.
Okay. Oh, I hate these things. I mean, Refused, I guess. Right?
Refused.
Like, yeah, Shape Punk to Come. Duh. Probably our new record, so I don't forget the lyrics and how it goes, so I can be ready for a tour. And then Primitive Weapon's last record.
Oh, thanks so much. That's nice of you.
I'm pandering.
Well, I was going to say, St. Vitus loves War on Women. Brooklyn loves War on Women. You have a very special relationship with the club and everybody here. We got now 56 seconds before we get kicked off. Are there any final last shout outs or comments you want to make?
Buy this fucking book. Donate to Black Lives Matter. If you're white, have conversations with other white people in your life. Take the burden off of people of color. Read what you can. Watch documentaries, watch movies. Put your money where your mouth is. Only pay for things by marginalized people. Just now is the time to educate ourselves and to stay happy and healthy as much as we can indoors. Wear a mask, wash your hands, exercise if you can, get a little sunshine. You can like cross stitch like me. I cross stitch, and so here's a little, all cats are beautiful.
Yes.
You know, keep yourself busy and put aside $15 for some